The Irish anti-immigrant movement has a champion from the world of mixed martial arts.
Conor McGregor, I'll vote for you, boy. I'll vote for you.
The UFC was once dubbed human cockfighting, and for a time Conor McGregor was the biggest one of them all.
He's as notorious as it gets.
Post-COVID, he pivoted into politics, says he wants to become the next president of Ireland.
You know, Ireland is at the cusp of, potentially losing its Irishness.
We spent a week trying to track down the hard man of the Irish hard right. Wanted to ask him about the MMA and MAGA. Spoiler alert, we didn't find him. Is Conor in? But learnt a lot about Ireland's immigration fault line along the way.
If he did make the presidency ticket,
you would... Christ, I'd leave the country. I'd be gone.
Part of McGregor's business empire includes the Black Forge pub in Crumlin, Dublin 12. We spent several evenings here. On the off chance he'd show up, he sometimes does. The bill comes complete with his UFC belt for selfies. Before a popular vote by November, McGregor would first need a number of political nominations, which he's highly unlikely to get.
Hey, fellas. Looks like you're having a smack.
But what he does have a degree of cultural clout. Last year in the film Roadhouse, hit Hollywood hard. As well as fans, the Black Forge has become a regular haunt for anti-immigrant activists. And while we were there, a rallying point for a busload of them en route to a demonstration in Cork.
Look what's just at arriving. Conor McGregor, salute you.
So Conor McGregor has paid for a busload of his supporters to leave Dublin and go to an anti-immigration demonstration in Cork City today. We are on their trail. We don't know whether the man himself is going to be there. As we travel, time for a brief biography. McGregor was born in Crumlin, a working-class neighbourhood in Dublin. In the late 2000s, Ireland was in the throes of a financial crisis. It was humiliating. People needed a McGregor.
There it is.
He became the biggest pay-per-view draw in MMA history. He was huge. But over time, the wheels started coming off. Violent outbursts outside the cage. On social media, stoked up the Dublin anti-immigrant riots. Then, earlier this year, McGregor was found liable of a serious sexual assault by a jury in the civil courts. He's appealing the decision.
Would you like to say sorry for what has happened?
Now he wants to become president, a largely ceremonial role. So back to the rally in Cork. The bus McGregor paid for has arrived. Those on board join a few thousand others.
There is a void in Conor McGregor's life, and this is the void he has stepped into, the dividing line, quite literally here in Cork, between the pro-migrant voice and the anti-migrant voice.
The anti-immigrant street movement is growing in Ireland, but has had little meaningful electoral success. At its heart is a profound mistrust of politicians and institutions.
Conor McGregor, you care more about the Irish people than the government that are in now, because the government that are in now couldn't give a flying
As their government are doing nothing for the Irish people.
Yeah, there's a lot of mistrust, of politicians here in the crowd. Do you trust your local TD?
No.
Who's your local TD?
Haven't a clue.
This movement and McGregor have adopted the language of historical militant Irish republicanism. Words like plantations, invaders, traitors, and for some in the crowd, journalists fall into that category. Distrust of institutions, including the police, is evolving into direct action. This speech, for example, shared widely online a recruitment call to join anti-migrant neighbourhood patrol groups, an initiative that McGregor supports.
Sick and tired of being afraid in their own towns. We are 600 strong at the moment, and it's growing more.
A handful of people in the crowd wearing blue armbands are part of this group.
It took us 12 hours to get here.
Ezra Levant owns Rebel Media, a hard-right online media platform. Flew over from Canada to cover the event. We asked him about what McGregor and Trumpian politics have in common.
It's a politics of strength and of being unapologetic and not being politically correct and embracing masculinity, which has been sort of suppressed in the woke West for a generation.
It was Donald Trump who gave the UFC its first big break many years ago, hosted a number of fights at his hotels, platformed the then pariah of American sport. That's one reason he gets this sort of reception at fights. There's more to it though. Philip O'Connor is a martial arts coach and journalist. Grew up not far from McGregor in Dublin, but now lives in Stockholm. He says the relationship between the UFC fan and Trumpian populism goes both ways.
It also gives him access to a demographic which is young, male, drinks beer and votes. And that's what Donald Trump was after. It's a huge swathe of Donald Trump's constituency pays their $79 for UFC pay-per-views. So the two go hand in hand. And again, without Donald Trump, there is no UFC today.
Is there something in the DNA of this sport that is right-wing?
Things change, and this happens the whole time. You know, the pendulum swings between left and right. Right now, it is very much an anti-woke, eat red meat, drink raw milk, buy all the guns you can afford with your UFC purse. But that could change again.
From Fight Club to the Cusack Stand, Croke Park, Dublin, the home of Irish Gaelic Games, hallowed ground. Members of Ireland's Muslim community were invited here recently by the Gaelic Athletic Association to celebrate Eid. Outside, a small group of anti-immigrant activists objected to the event. One of them sneaked inside wearing a head covering, then took it off and tried to disrupt proceedings. The imam diffused the intervention with some humour.
And she has worn a beautiful dress, which really suits her very well, very nice. Shame!
McGregor expressed veiled support for the protest in a social media post he then deleted. And later that weekend, we saw this woman drinking in his pub.
Do you remember, or do you just like to forget?
When Conor McGregor goes online on social media, are there real-life consequences to
there
those
are,
posts?
absolutely.
What are
the
they?
Dublin riots were one of the examples of the real-life consequences of his tweets. The hatred we find, the anger we find in young people often is instigated by people and individuals like that.
And have you experience of that violence?
Yes, even last Sunday I had an experience of young teenagers entering the mosque with their shoes on and then outside abusing me and spitting on me.
We put these accusations to Team McGregor but haven't received a reply. In the past, he's dismissed similar claims as examples of him being scapegoated. According to polling, McGregor is not a popular choice as a would-be presidential candidate. And on O'Connell Street, Dublin, a case of if polls could swear. If he did make the presidency ticket,
oh, Jesus Christ, I'd leave the country. I'd be gone. Excuse me, no. I can't put that in there. I'd be gone. Sorry, no, I shouldn't have said that.
Clown.
Why?
If you want a four-letter word.
As we voxed pop people, a group of teenagers ran past, chased by police. They had just attacked a young student from Pakistan. Eyewitnesses, here speaking to police, said that racist slurs were used during the assault. McGregor's political supporters feel muzzled by the establishment. The fighter represents someone who throws off those restraints. The question, who will end up getting bitten as a result?